offered in the Chicago area.
The land's finest insurance company, so they can do more for you than you can. And all for a small down payment and easy monthly terms. Call Yale Insurance Agency at 427-6322 and see what they can do for you. Make an appointment to see one of their representatives at either their Loop offices or in the convenience of your own home. And call tonight, 427-6322. Do yourself a favor and call the Yale Insurance Agency.
Brad Palmer back at the Winnipeg Arena for the third period of play, along with Anna Stukas, the general manager of the Winnipeg Jets, who has been offering his expert commentary during this game. And there's a shot of the booth. Maybe we can wave to the folks. That's my hand, you see. And there's our producer, Dudley Freeman, giving a wave. We're high atop the Winnipeg Arena, where they played the third game of that Russian Team Canada series, or if you will, the National Hockey League All-Star Series, because nobody from the World Hockey Association was represented.
Hey, Pete, and you know, this rink actually was the home of the Canada's national team, the original one that they had, where Father Bauer brought in, where a lot of the college boys were going to school here at the University of Manitoba and the University of Winnipeg, playing hockey for the national club, and this was the one that was disbanded when Hockey Canada. It's an involved kind of a thing, but we did have the Canada's national team based here. We've had some great games against the Russians and the Czechs and the Swedes here in the past, and this is one of the things that the fans here in Winnipeg appreciate about the Jets. You may have noticed in that second period, they did start throwing that puck around, and the way somewhat akin, everybody thinks that the Russians invented that passing the puck around, but this is the way hockey used to be played before expansion, when teams like the New York Rangers, Montreal Canadiens, and some of those other great clubs that they had in the 30s and 40s were, there's some of the fans, the type of fan, the older one, that does appreciate the type of hockey that's going out here. You know, a lot of people thought that when the World Hockey Association got going, it'd be a kind of a blood and thunder league, but outside of the couple of minor penalties that we have had tonight, it has been a wide open, clean game, very little play at center ice, most of the play in the other teams, and in other words, both clubs are moving the puck, both clubs are getting their chances, and I think the second period shots on goal will show you how the trend has gone, because even now Chicago have outshot the Jets 16-9. In two periods, they've had 27 shots against 17, and the score is 3-0, an indication that Ernie Wakely is doing his job. And I might add, it's a good thing that Jim McLeod was on his toes in the last few minutes, when bit by bit the Jets start taking over as the Cougars try to play catch-up hockey.
And there's some future Bobby Hull fans maybe waiting around for an autograph.
These are our usherettes.
Usherettes.
They haven't got quite, the uniforms aren't quite complete, but Johnny Ladner, the executive vice president of the Cougars, was telling us that girls were the best thing as usherettes. We believed him, and even though he didn't have any choice in picking them, with that very discerning eye that he has, we got it. And there's Mr. Hull at his usual trade these days, not hockey, but signing autographs.
Not only that, but that's Reggie Fleming in the penalty box, and he's signing autographs too. What a friendly league. Bobby Hull, I'm telling you, of course in Chicago, he's the last player to leave the locker room. He was the last player to leave the Chicago Stadium. He'd come up after just about everybody had gone home. He'd have 100 people waiting for him. He would sign autographs. He's been doing that in Winnipeg, and of course we'll be talking with Bobby right after this hockey game. They tell me that yesterday when the Jets worked out at that same rink with the Cougars, it was a grade school rink, but a very fine rink. In fact, they've got a Zamboni ice machine there. They told me he sat there after that hockey practice and signed autographs for busloads of school kids for an hour and a half.
Well, they have an enrollment of 477, and somehow or other he came up with 500 autographs.
Okay, second period underway. Bordelot gets the face-off, and it comes back to Chicago. 3-0 Winnipeg. And a minute 20 seconds to go on the penalty to Fleming. Third period. I guess I call it something else. We're third period. 3-0 Winnipeg. And the Hawks will be at a man disadvantage for the next minute and 5 seconds. For Siviak, into the boards. Prosiviat now tries to clear. That's Glenn Wright, number 23 for Chicago. He tries to get it out, but it's held in there instead by Winnipeg, by Bowden. Bowden centers for Sutherland, but overshoots him. Goes almost through the crease. Comes out to the point to Horning. Now to Sutherland. Sutherland, number 10 for Winnipeg. Out to Boydlow. A shot on skate. Saved by McLeod. Rebound, but not far enough for Sutherland to reach. Comes out to center ice. Glenn Wright dumps it into the Winnipeg zone. No icing, of course. Into the corner it comes. Boydlow back for Winnipeg. Chris Boydlow, the former Blackhawk, 9 goals for Winnipeg this year. Boydlow at center ice, gives it right wing now, and broken up instead by Glenn Wright, and we've got an offside.
In the World Hockey Association
25 seconds to go on the penalty to Reg Fleming for Chicago.
Alberta.
Winnipeg leads 3-0, and there you see the time.
And Philadelphia 5, Los Angeles 4.
And the Cougars now going to change lines. Number 17 getting into your picture, along with number 9, Rosie Pema. Number 17 for Chicago is Bob Stasinski. Number 17 for Winnipeg, Danny Johnson. They'll be facing off just outside the Chicago blue line. Draw comes back to Winnipeg. Zanussi has it, and has it slapped all the way back into the Winnipeg zone. Zanussi back for Winnipeg. Jets lead 3-0. 13 seconds to go on the penalty to Reg Fleming. Winnipeg now up ice. Here's Zanussi. Zanussi right side. Undershoots his man. We have an offside. Undershot his right wing that time. The offside results. Only 5 seconds now on the penalty to Reg Fleming. And a few more changes for Chicago. Anderson comes on along with Prosiviat for defense. Horning going off. Larry Cahan going off. Here's Horning, number 5 for Winnipeg. He dumps it into the Chicago zone. McLeod behind his own goal. And the penalty expires. Both teams back to full strength. 3-0 Winnipeg, 18:27 to go in the game. Here's Reg Fleming. A shot, a skate save Winnipeg. A rebound, Fleming can't get a stick on it. Save, Wakely. Almost a rebound that time, and it's for Reg Fleming.
Reggie came out there, played it like the cool old veteran that he is, just waited, snuck in behind, almost got that breakaway, came up with a good shot. He had Ernie Wakely way out of the net making that save, a little bit of luck, which is something that the Cougars haven't had around that net. They could have made it 3-1 very easy.
So Jets play host to the
A change coming up for Chicago. Lodvo comes onto the ice along with defenseman Barber and Cahan. Draw comes back to Barber at the point. Butch Barber. Into the corner it goes. Zanussi back for Winnipeg. Gets it around Lodvo. Comes all the way around. Comes out to center ice. Winnipeg. That's Graton. He shoots. A stick save that time by McLeod. Cleared by Chicago. Back to center ice. Dumped right back in. Controlled by Cahan. Over to Barber. Barber back to center ice. And this is going to be no icing. Wakely takes it, gives to Zanussi behind his own goal. He's got Horning over here. Instead, he gives it to Johnson. Johnson gets around Whitlock. Out to center ice. This is Graton. He almost puts it on goal. It's just to the right. Goes back, comes off to Zanussi. Broken up by the Cougars. Back out to center ice. This is Popeil. Popeil crosses blue line. He drops it back. A shot, Liddington. That was Zazinski, I should say, not Liddington. We got that shot off. And back for Winnipeg is Johnson. Ab McDonald now behind his own goal. Comes back to Popeil for Chicago. 17:08 to go in this hockey game. Back to center ice, Larry Horning. He gives to Cuddy. Cuddy dumps it into the corner. McLeod comes out, gives it to Cahan. Cahan behind his own goal. Cahan over to Barber. Barber now loses the puck. Ridden off by Asmundson. He comes out to center ice, controlled by Winnipeg. This is Ash. Ash has it broken up. Back to center ice. Ash breaks it up again. Still a scramble for the puck. Asmundson now controls, and he drops it back to Cuddy. Cuddy into the neutral ice. Cuddy right side. Gets it around Popeil all the way around. McLeod out. Drops it off. Into the corner now to Cahan. Cahan gives center ice to Whitlock. Overshoots him. Broken up by Winnipeg. Dumped right back in. In on McLeod. Whistle blown.
Please turn to page
And with 16:18 to go in the game, let's take a timeout.
Columbia Tire.
Emil Denmark Cadillac, one of the oldest Cadillac dealerships in the Chicagoland area at 4646 South Pulaski, invites you to step into the special world of Cadillac 73, the best known and universally respected automobile. Join the Cadillac world of driving pleasure and owner satisfaction. Take advantage of the ultimate in Emil Denemark service and sales with a large selection of choice pre-driven quality Cadillacs. Be selective with Emil Denemark Cadillac.
Winnipeg back in its own zone. This is Bob Ash controlling. He's almost ridden off the puck. Taken by Asmundson. Asmundson now. And we get a whistle. And we're going to have a penalty called against Winnipeg. Bill Friday calling a penalty against Winnipeg. It's going to be on Brian Cadle for hooking.
One of those penalties, Cadle could see the boys breaking. And by the way, you're watching
Winnipeg penalty to number 20, Brian Cadle. 2 minutes for
Cadle
holding.
could see the boys breaking.
Penalty 4 minutes, 1 second.
Mr. Friday was right there. Could be called interference or hooking.
Comes to 4:01 of the third period of play with Winnipeg leading 3-0. This is Liddington. He can't center the pass. It's broken up instead by Winnipeg. Comes all the way back, and back to get it for Chicago is Prosiviat. Back behind his own goal. He's going to set it up. The Cougars playing power play hockey, trailing Winnipeg 3-0. 1:39 to go on the penalty to Cadle. This is Zane. Zane dumps into the corner. Payma back, but instead it comes to Wakely. He gets it around. Zane now has it in the corner. He looks to center. Comes up to the point to Prosiviat. Cross ice to Whitlock. Whitlock shoots. A stick save and back into the crowd by Ernie Wakely. "15 minutes and 22 seconds to go in the hockey game. The Cougars trailing Winnipeg by a 3-0 score. And don't forget that Bobby Hull is going to be our post-game guest on Cougar Wrap-Up immediately following the game here on Channel 44 in Chicago. Puck comes all the way outside. Now to get it now is McLeod. It comes out trying to get it for Winnipeg is Sutherland. He's ridden off the puck, but still controlled by Winnipeg. Sutherland gets it back. Here's a shot now by Winnipeg, but it's deflected and goes back into the corner. Knocked around, controlled by Rod Zane for Chicago. Rod Zane, one of two players for the Cougars who wears a helmet. He's over the red line. He dumps it back in. We get a whistle. No whistle, I'm sorry, it was a fan. Winnipeg dumps it all the way back out once again. Only 45 seconds to go on the penalty to Cadle. And we've got an icing called against Winnipeg.
On your way home
Wakely could
tonight,
shoot
tune
it.
in to radio station CJOB 680 on your dial.
3-0 Winnipeg with
for the
14:41 to go here in the
post-game
third
show.
period. And there you see 42 seconds left on the penalty to Cadle. And a reminder that the next television game here on Channel 44 will be Wednesday night, November 1st from Boston Arena. That's when the Cougars take on the New England Whalers. They're going to face this one off again. Number 17 for Chicago is Bob Szynski. They'll be facing off against number 7 for Winnipeg, Chris Bordelot, the former Blackhawk. The draw comes back, and it's going to be controlled by Chicago. Broken up back into the corner, a fight for the puck. Reg Fleming tries to get it. It's poked away from Horning. Comes back to Szynski. He has it out to Glenn right at the point. A shot, a score! And so Brian Glenwright puts the Cougars on the scoreboard with a goal here with about 15 minutes to go in the game. And for Glenwright, that's his second goal of the year. The score now Winnipeg 3 and the Cougars 1. And there's still time to get on the inside for Cougar hockey action. Reserve tickets on sale now in all price ranges for Cougar home games at Ticketron, Sears, Ward, Bond's Downtown Store, and the Amphitheater box office. So act now because it's a first-come, first-served basis for the Cougars opening game against Bobby Hull's Winnipeg Jets Tuesday night, October 31st.
And they gave the goal, as I thought, to Reggie Fleming in there. There was a deflection on that. That shot hit Reggie and ticked into the corner. Wakely never had a chance on it.
So Fleming gets the goal, and for Fleming, that's his second goal. Gives him 7 points. He leads the Cougars in that category. Popeil checked hard that time to the ice, but no call. Checked hard by Steve Cuddy. 3-1 hockey game. 14-0 score!
I think one thing about Popeil, he was hit real hard on that one. Got to his feet, kind of trailed into the play a little bit slowly, just there in time for that missed by Mr. Wakely and the defense score, and he just popped it up over his body. We got a 3-2 hockey game, and right now this is anybody's hockey game.
Cougars right back in, and of course this is what they did up in Alberta just a couple of nights ago. They were trailing there 3-1, came out with a 3-3 tie. This is your Chicago Cougar station, Channel 44. It'll be a SNS in Chicago. And there you see a happy Chicago Cougar bench. They have come up with a couple of goals here in the last 2 minutes of play. They're back in this hockey game, trailing only 3-2. Marcel Pronovo behind the bench. Shaw comes back to Winnipeg, controlled by Horning. Sanusi now dumps it in. Right back out to center ice, controlled there by Winnipeg. It was Sanusi, and it's an offside.
Kenny Johnson just a little bit slow getting out. He tried very hard to get in there. Sanusi thought he'd made it before he got that puck over there. He dropped on, but those linemen are right on the job.
13:43 to go, third period. Winnipeg dumps into the Chicago zone. Back to get it for Civiat for Chicago. Cougars just a goal down. Plenty of time to go in this hockey game. Comes out to center ice. Reg Fleming down into the corner for Chicago. He's looking back to see who he can center to. Fleming tries to center. Comes up, broken up by Sanusi. That's Blanchette for Chicago. Out to Anderson. Keeps it inside the Winnipeg zone. Fleming takes Sanusi into the boards, but Sanusi controls. He gets it out here to McDonald. McDonald now back to center ice. Back to get it Anderson for Chicago. Look out. Anderson back to center ice. Fans don't like it. He almost caught Swenson, I think it was, with a stick. This is Johnson for Winnipeg, carrying to his corner. Anderson, he shoots. It's to the right of McLeod. Goes back into the corner and out of the ring. 12 minutes, 53 seconds to go in this hockey game. Let's pause for a timeout.
In a recent nationwide survey, independent TV servicemen named one brand of color TV by more than 2-to-1 over the next best brand as needing fewest repairs, Zenith. And they named one brand.
Shoots his man. Taken into the corner by Cahan. He's ridden into the boards hard by Graton. Back to Barber. Barber for the Cougars. And it comes around to Liddington. He can't clear. Knocked down by Barber. Taken up by Liddington. Liddington out to Payma. Payma left side. He shoots from outside the blue line. It's wide. Comes back to Asmundson. Back to center right. Back to get it for Chicago is Larry Cahan, the captain for the Cougars. 38 years old. Former captain of the Los Angeles Kings. Cahan gives left side to Barber. Out to center ice to Fleming to Zane. Zane now overshoots Payma. Broken up by Winnipeg. Center ice. Payma can't break it up. This is Russo. Russo tries to get through, but it's broken up by the Cougars. Barber controls for the Cougars. 11:44 to go. This is Zane for Chicago. Zane over the red line. Zane over the blue line. He shoots. It's deflected into the corner instead. Asmundson back to get it for Winnipeg. Asmundson controls right in front of his own crease. A dangerous spot. He gets it out to center ice. He gets it out to Russo. Russo has it broken up by Prosiviat. Prosiviat for Chicago. He has it broken up by Cadle. Cadle now. It's out to center ice. It's out to Liddington. He shoots from the blue line, but it's broken up by Winnipeg. Back to center ice. And a centering pass for Russo. Overshot, controlled by Chicago. Comes out here now to Lodbo. Lodbo to Liddington, back to Lodbo. Over the blue line, broken up by Zanussi. Zanussi now. He's got Burdlow. Burdlow, though, has ridden off the puck, and he goes down, but no call. Out to center ice. Zane for Chicago. Cougars down by a goal. Here's Zane. He gives out to Popeil. Back to Anderson. A shot. Almost a goal, but just wide. It's back to Prosiviat for Chicago. He centers, almost broken it right in front. They couldn't find it there for a minute. Wakely finally got his glove on it after the puck bounced into the air between Wakely and Zanussi. Almost a goal that time, Ennis.
Zanussi almost tipped that in. Joe's a little aware of that because the other night against Philadelphia, he knocked in the goal himself trying to put it past the edge of the post, and he almost did the same thing there tonight. Wakely had to be on his toes.
Well, how a hockey game can change. It was all Winnipeg that second period. They got 3 goals in the final 6 minutes and 6 seconds of the second period. But in the first 6 minutes and 1 second of this period, it's turned around. The Cougars have come up with 2 goals. They trailed only 3-2. That was Marcel Pronovo on the Cougar bench. Bobby Hull across the ice. Bobby Hull going to be our post-game guest on Cougar Wrap-Up. Bobby Hull still under the gag rule. There's Bobby Hull looking down. I'm sure he doesn't like the way things have been going here the last few minutes of this hockey game. Here's the face-off to the left of Wakely, controlled by Winnipeg. That's Horning. He gets it outside the blue line. That's Anderson to get it for Chicago. He's got Prosiviat. He finds Prosiviat now. Prosiviat gives off to Sosinski. Sosinski, a former Dallas Blackhawk. He gives to Anderson, over to Prosiviat. Prosiviat now centers for Sosinski. It's broken up instead, and Prosiviat gets it back, but he overrides it. It's broken up. It comes back to Prosiviat. Over to Sosinski in the Winnipeg ice. Sosinski tries to center. Broken up. Almost to Lodbo in front, but undershot. Comes into the corner. Winnipeg gets it. That's Sutherland for Winnipeg. Tries to clear it. He does. That's Lodbo for Chicago. Lodbo, number 14. He's being hawked there by Bordelot. It comes into Winnipeg end, and Winnipeg's Zanussi is back to get it behind his own goal. That's Popeil in front. Waiting for the play to develop. It comes out here to Sutherland. Popeil keeps it inside. Horning now gets it over on the far side to Zanussi. Zanussi has it knocked down by Lodbo. Lodbo tries to dump it in, has it knocked down. Brought back into Winnipeg ice by Lodbo. Horning back to get it for Winnipeg. Out to Bordelot. Bordelot, a right wing pass over the blue line. One man to beat. He shoots wide to the right side. Scramble for the puck. 17 Zanussi. Centering pass doesn't get out far enough. Broken up by Barber. He's taken to the boards by Sutherland. This is the Cougars now recovering. Far side to Popeil. Popeil broken up by Zanussi. Popeil gets it back into the corner. And we've got a whistle called. And we've got a penalty coming up, and I think it's going to be on Zanussi. And
A little bit of slashing there by Joe. He was a little off balance, and he just let go.
a quick timeout.
Emil Denemark Cadillac, one of the oldest Cadillac dealerships in the Chicagoland area, at 4646 South Pulaski, invites you to step into the special world of Cadillac 73, the best-known and universally respected automobile. Join the Cadillac world of driving pleasure and owner satisfaction. Take advantage of the ultimate in Emil Denemark service and sales with a large selection of choice pre-driven quality Cadillacs. Be selective with Emil Denemark Cadillac.
Number 4.
That's Jan Popeil in the Cougar penalty box. A double penalty that time. Popeil for the Cougars, Zanussi for Winnipeg.
19, Jan Popeil, 2 minutes for Spearing.
Spearing is the call.
Time of the penalties, 10 minutes.
And both teams are equal strength, but a man short. Cougars down 3-2. This is Rizzuto for Winnipeg. And the puck bounced into the crowd. That was Spearing on Popeil. Was that also Spearing on Zanussi? Dennis, did you
I
catch
think
it?
there would be a little bit of slashing. I'm just trying to figure out how you get a 2-minute penalty for Spearing. That's a 5-minute penalty, and somebody must have misunderstood what Mr. Friday said.
We've got 8 minutes and 42 seconds to go in this hockey game. And Winnipeg, here's the crowd. It's probably, what would you guess, Annis, about 4,500 tonight?
Somewhere close to that.
3-2 Winnipeg. Draw comes out over the blue line to center ice, and they want to do it again.
Well, I think it's
No.
a kid with a whistle.
It sure is. There it is again. Winnipeg right wing pass, and that was an offside pass. That was a two-line pass, but they overshot it, didn't they?
No, the puck carrier on that one, as you noticed, got over the red line before the puck. That made it an offside. If the puck had gone over the red line first, and he'd cut up to the puck, then it was okay.
That's right. And the
All he had to do was break stride.
In the World Hockey Association, you can pass over two lines, provided that puck precedes the receiving player over the red line. So here's the faceoff. It comes back to Ash. Ash still controlling for Winnipeg. Winnipeg leading 3-2, 8:23 to go in this hockey game. This is Swenson, and there's a referee's whistle that time.
Bobby Ash didn't see Garth Rizzuto, who didn't show it in the picture, but Bobby Ash carrying the puck down there. All he saw was Swenson, who was keeping pace with him. But over in the far wing, Garth Rizzuto, going like a bat out of you-know-where, just got in ahead of time.
Whitlock facing off against Swenson. Draw controlled by the Cougars. 1:17 to go on the penalties to Popeil and Zanussi. Puck over to the left side. On to the right side. This is Whitlock. Whitlock now tried to get around Ash, but couldn't do it. Controlled now by Cuttle for Winnipeg. Cuttle up center ice for Winnipeg. He shoots from the blue line. A save by McLeod, and back to get the rebound, Cahan for Chicago. Dangerous play that time. This is Cuddy for Winnipeg. Keeps it at center ice. Broken up by Cahan for Chicago. Over to Barber. Barber to Whitlock at center ice. Left wing pass to Reg Fleming. Fleming now comes in. Tries to drop it for Barber. Can't do it. Barber controls for Chicago. Into the corner to Fleming. Fleming now tries to center. He does so to Cahan. He shoots from the blue line. Boy, it was a close shot, but went right over the net off the stick of Ernie Wakely. 27 seconds for the penalties on Popeil. And Sanusi, we're going to have a line change coming up. 7:28 to go. Third period. Winnipeg now nursing a 3-2 lead. And don't forget the Chicago Cougars' next telecast here on Channel 44 will be Wednesday, November 1st in the Boston Arena. That's the New England Whalers. Airtime on Channel 44, 6:30. Reg Fleming goes back to the Cougar bench. Fleming, a great reputation in the National Hockey League, played for 6 teams, including the Blackhawks. 3-2 Winnipeg. Draw comes back to Winnipeg. Ash controls behind his own net. Ash comes out right in front of his own net, gives off to McDonald. McDonald tries a right wing pass. It's broken up instead by Glenwright. Glenwright to Rosie Paymont. Paymont now is ridden off the puck. It comes out here to Anderson. Anderson tries to put it right in front. A save by Wakely. Boy, if only Glenwright could have got more to stick on, but he had to pull the trigger in a hurry. And there you see the penalties ending to Popeil and Sanusi. Both teams back to equal strength with 7:01 to go in this hockey game, and the Winnipeg Jets still nursing a 3-2 lead. Again, we've got a change in lines. Both teams now at full strength.
Jets little careless there. Again, it shows you what happened. Where they're only going with 4 defensemen. With Sanusi in the penalty box, you had a strange pair in there between Horning and Ash. They kind of miscued on that and almost gave up a goal.
Chicago controls the draw. This is Prosiviat over to Anderson. Center ice to Livingston. Broken up by Winnipeg. That's Graton. Graton taking the ice by Lodbo. And no penalty. No call by Friday. A centering pass to Graton. He shoots. Broken up that time nicely by Cahan. Out in front again. Graton. He tries again to shoot. Broken up by Anderson. It comes into the corner to Sazinski. Sazinski around his own net to Prosiviat. Prosiviat into the corner. Taken up there, and Prosiviat keeps the puck. He's over his blue line. He tries to get around Sanusi. He can't do it. Sanusi breaks it up. Here's Johnson. Danny Johnson all alone. A shot over the net. Off the glove of McLeod. A save that time. Almost a breakaway. This is Sanusi at center ice. Overrides the puck. He's got it again. Sanusi back at center ice. 3-2. 5:54 to go in the hockey game. This is Sazinski. Sazinski now ridden into the boards. Comes out to Cahan. He shoots to the bucket. It's a 2-on-1 now. Danny Johnson, right side. A shot. A save by McLeod.
Well, it's been a wild 3 or 4 minutes, Brad. Both clubs are opening up. The Cougars put quite a bit of pressure on, but again, on trying to get that catch-up goal, they're leaving the openings for the Jets.
That was Horning who got that shot in that 2-1. Once again, Bobby Hull going to be our post-game guest. Only 5:40 to go in this game, and the Winnipeg Jets lead 3-2. Face off to the left of McLeod. Back to get it, Barber for Chicago. He's ridden into the boards. Whitlock taken away now by Winnipeg. Centering pass to Sutherland, can't control. Here's Bowden, a shot, a save. Right behind to the right of McLeod. Boy, almost point-blank range. The Cougars clear the puck. And there's going to be icing here on Chicago. Well, they had no choice that time.
Power Products will be awarding a 1973 Starcraft 12-foot aluminum boat and a 1973 Evinrude 6-horsepower motor at the end of the season. Be sure to enter the coupon in
Still trying to get on the inside for exciting Cougar hockey action in Chicago. Reserve tickets on sale now in all price ranges for Cougar home games at Ticketron, Sears, Ward's, Bond's Downtown Store, and the Amphitheater box office. That's for the next home game, their first home game, Tuesday at the Amphitheater. They play these same Winnipeg Jets. Tied up now is Barber and Bordelot behind the Chicago goal. We're going to have a face-off. 5:11 to go in this hockey game. Winnipeg leading 3-2. Winnipeg getting their 3 goals in the final 6 minutes and 6 seconds of the second period. Chicago getting its 2 goals in the first 6 minutes and 1 second of this final period. Chicago's Reg Fleming now, ridden off the puck. Barber back to get it, so is Fleming. Fleming gets it out to Blanchette. Blanchette over to Fleming. Fleming at center ice. Fleming controls for Chicago over the blue line. Right side to Cahan. Cahan shoots. It's up to the right side and out of the ring.
Bobby Ash just got the stick on there. Larry Cahan had a real chance. You know, that old pair of Cahan and Fleming have been around quite a while. They've made a great play in there. Bobby Ash doesn't get a stick up just in time. Mr. Wakely was going to be tested.
And there's the story of this hockey game, a tight hockey game. The Cougars have been in just about every game except one. That was a 6-2 game in Ottawa. Other than that, they've been in the thick of every game, and they're right in the middle of this one with 5:10 to go. Face-off is going to be to the left of Ernie Wakely. Rod Zane, number 8, that's the helmet, skating around in the face-off circle. Number 10 there you see for Winnipeg is Bill Sutherland. He's 37 years old. And you don't want to forget the Chicago White Sox are going to be here on Channel 44 next season. 135 games. There's the Chicago, there's Bill Friday over there with the captain of the Cougars, number 5, Larry Cahan. That's Rosie Payma wearing number 9.
I think they're having a little clock problem in there. I thought I saw the clock hitch a couple of times, and this is what Bill Friday's over there checking. There could be a possibility that there is something wrong happened with the clock. I notice he's checking the time, and maybe the timekeeper is busy watching the game, beginning to turn the clock on or off. But in the meantime, back to action with 5:10 left.
Well, that could only work to Chicago's advantage to have that clock stopped a few times, because the Cougars only have 5 minutes and 10 seconds to make up a 1-goal deficit. Here's Zane against Bordelot. Draw comes off to Winnipeg. Controlled by Ash. Around to the far side. It comes out to Bordelot. Bordelot at center ice. Roar goes up. Bordelot dumps it in on McLeod. Just to the right side. Taken up by Anderson of Chicago. Anderson controls. Comes right around in front of his own goal. Gets it out to the far side to Fleming. Now to Zane. Zane over the blue line. He shoots. Broken up instead by Cuddy. Cuddy knocks Zane away. Gets the puck. Both players ridden to the boards. Comes out to Anderson. He shoots. A glove save by Wakely. Well, the Cougars now are starting to put the pressure to Winnipeg in this third period. It's almost like the latter stages of the first period.
Looks like a penalty coming up. I didn't catch who it's on, but I think it's on the Winnipeg Jets. Yep, looks like Steve Cuddy for tripping.
Well, with 4:41 to go in this hockey game, the Cougars are going to have a man advantage. Cuddy, wearing number 6 for Winnipeg, goes to the penalty box right behind him, Bobby Hull.
Winnipeg penalty.
And there's the story once again.
Steve Cuddy, 2 minutes for tripping.
Cougar is going to play power play hockey for the next 2 minutes of this hockey game. A victory would move the Cougars out of the cellar. They have sole possession of the cellar right now. A tie wouldn't do it. But the Cougars are unbeaten in their last 2 games, and they're trying to get some momentum going here into Chicago. That's number 17, Danny Johnson, over at the Winnipeg bench, along with Bill Friday wearing number 1. They don't wear the red and black here. The referees do not, that is. They wear red and blue stripes. And also, you'll notice that red stripe down the side of Friday's trousers. They're also going to try using a blue puck, but I understand they haven't got that puck perfected yet, Ennis.
No, they've first few times that we've been chipping, and they just haven't got the right. We're working on it. We understand we should be getting a good supply in a week or so.
Bordelot going to face off against Whitlock for Chicago. Winnipeg controls the score. This is Bordelot for Winnipeg. Left side to McDonald. McDonald, one man to beat. He shoots. A 6 save by McLeod into the corner. Taken there by Whitlock. He gives off to Zane. Zane right wing overshoots Payma. A scramble now into the Chicago Winnipeg zone. Taken off by Horning for Winnipeg. That's Liddington on him. Ridden off by Payma. Zane now tries to get it. And they scramble, and it's going to be a face-off right to the right of Ernie Wakely. 1:35 to go in the penalty to Steve Cuddy. Cougars playing power play hockey. 4:16 to go in the period. 4:16 to go in the game, as a matter of fact. And Winnipeg still nursing a 3-2 lead. Number 7 there, skating around, bent over in white, is Chris Bordelot, the former Blackhawk. line made of Bobby Hull. Cougars now change line. This is Whitlock, who's always in, or just about always on power plays, facing off against Bordeaux. Once again, Winnipeg controls. Shaw, though, comes out to the point. Chicago gets a shot. Comes to Whitlock out in front. Horning deflects it away. Payma, backhander is wide. Into the corner it comes. Horning now tries to get it to Winnipeg. Whitlock takes him against the boards. We're going to have a face-off. Ernie Wakely under a lot of pressure. 1:17 to go now in the penalty to Cuddy, I should say. Cuddy and Cadle. Cuddy's in the penalty box. Steve Cuddy. And a few minutes from now, right after this hockey game, we're going to be talking with Bobby Hull on Cougar Wrap-Up. Face-off now. Comes out here to Blachette at the point. Blachette dumps it in. There's Payma. Bordeaux gets it for Winnipeg. Out to center right. This is McDonald. McDonald has it taken away from him. Payma now for Chicago. Goes there, Payma, over to Whitlock. Back to Payma, broken up. Back to Whitlock. Back to Payma. Out to Blachette. Blachette controls inside the blue line. Gets to the point. Shot for Siviak. Save Wakely. So Siviak from the point. Almost beat Wakely.
He just got a skate on that one. That was going for the far corner. He got that skate out just in time.
49 seconds to go in the penalty to Cuddy. 3:30 to go in the hockey game. Still Winnipeg leads 3-2. And coming onto the ice for the Cougars, Sinski, Lodbo, and Popeil. Blachette's going to stay out there for the power play. Whitlock, Fleming coming off. Bordeaux stays on with the penalty killers along with Ab McDonald, Horning, and Zanussi.
Well, he's saving those big guns of his for that last minute of play, I guess, when they pull the goalie if they don't tie it up here. I think we're going to see 6 on and try and get a face-off down that jet end if they don't tie it up here. And you've got to save that Whitlock and Fleming and some of the other boys for that final drive.
This is Szynski. Szynski in the corner, looking for Lodbo. Comes all the way to the point. This is Whitlock, a shot! Just wide. Whitlock, the hardest shot on the Cougars, and we got a penalty or a whistle here by Friday.
But he felt that one had hit a board somewhere and still went out of play.
I didn't see that. We're going to have a face-off, and we've got 35 seconds to go now on the penalty to Cuddy. Don't forget the Cougars' next telecast here on 44, Wednesday, November 1st from Boston. New England Whalers at 6:30. 29 seconds to go on the penalty to Cuddy. This is Prosiviat for Chicago at neutral's ice. Prosiviat carries over the blue line into the corner. Tries to get around Bordeaux. Wakely comes out of the net. This is Popeil for Chicago. He's got Whitlock at the point. He has Lodbo. A shot. A save. Wakely. Wakely now dives on the puck.
Oh, that was a great chance the Cougars had there, and only some very alert play. I thought it was out of reach for a minute, and I don't know how he propelled himself along the ice. He crawled like a snake there to get that puck, but he concluded to it. That would have been a tight ball game.
That's been the story for the Cougars most of this early season, Annis. The fact that they have been getting their shots, they just have not been scoring too much. Number 17, been over there, is Bob Szynski for Chicago. Facing off for Winnipeg is Chris Bordeaux. Draw comes back to the point. Shot to hand, right on goal. Saved by Wakely. Drops it off to Horning. Comes over far side, at McDonald. Intercepted by Szynski. Out to Lodbo. Couldn't get it there in time. Broken up by Horning. Penalty's over. Both sides at equal strength. This is Bordeaux. Broken up by Szynski for Chicago. Szynski now controls. Takes it to center ice. Both teams at equal strength. 2:31 to go in this hockey game. Back to the corner to Zanussi to get it for Winnipeg. Zanussi gets it around Popeil. Broken up by Szynski. Taken there by Sutherland. Up against the boards. We're going to have a face-off right to the right of Ernie Wakely. 16 is Jean-Guy Gretin. Number 7 there with his back to you. That's Chris Bordeaux, Bobby Hull's former line mate. And, of course, they hope to be reunited next week in Chicago when the Jets are in Chicago to take on the Cougars Tuesday night.
You might have seen Billy Sutherland skating alongside of Bill Friday filling his ear. He felt that he was tripped at the jet blue line. But Friday standing right there and little tape job going on.
There's Chris Bordeaux. Here comes Szynski, a former Dallas Blackhawk. The draw comes back to fight for shot. Missing that time with Lodbo. Scramble board to the right.
Wakely had no idea at all where the puck was. It was in his pads, and only after one of the Cougars came after him did he realize he did have the puck. I saw him looking around. Where did it go? He didn't know it, but he had it in the pads. That could have been 3-3.
And there's the story. Cougars only 2:11 to get back in the game, or to tie things up, I should say. They're in this hockey game right now. And Reg Fleming going back to talk with his goalie, McLeod. We're going to have to keep an eye on that Cougar goal to see if they're going to take McLeod out of there and put an extra skater onto the ice. They still have plenty of time. There you see the back of Jim McLeod, former St. Louis Blue. Actually, was with the Blackhawks during the Stanley Cup playoffs a couple of years ago, but did not play. That was, I believe, the injury to Jerry Desjardins. But he did not play. He just suited up.
And an argument going on. Bill Friday ruled that the last Chicago replacement there was illegal, and he's forcing the number 2, Butch Barber, to come back on and making Dick Russell go on.
Here's a final score.
Friday does have the last word. Reggie Fleming is discussing the situation with him. Friday says, let's get on with the game.
Face off to the left of Wakely. Whitlock against Settle, and the draw comes to Reggie Fleming. He takes a quick shot, but it's wide. Goes far side to Bowden. Bowden ridden off by Pema. Pema gets it for Chicago. Drops it back to Barber. Barber tries to turn, broken up by Bordlow. Bordlow controls. Right side, a shot by Bowden. But a save by McLeod, taken by the Cougars. On the far side is Barber. Barber in center ice. Almost tripped in the play, but not quite. Taken to Winnipeg and dumped right back. And this one, I don't think it's going to be icing. No, it is. They did. The puck had gone over the blue line, so you cannot ice the puck even when you're short-handed. They're going to bring it back all the way to the right of Ernie Wakely and face it off there. Only 1:41 to go now, and the Cougars still a goal down. Whitlock will face off with the Cougars. He's number 15, standing to the left of the linesman. Getting into your picture on the right side of the linesman is Chris Bordlow. Bordlow scoreless tonight. He's the leading scorer on the Jets. 9 goals, 4 assists, a total of 13 points. And there's Jim McLeod in the goal for the Cougars. And a few more seconds and he may be getting out of there as the Cougars try to put a 6th skater onto the ice. They need a goal here bad. Draw comes to the Cougars. A quick shot by Popeil, broken out. A glove save by Wakely. Backhanded that time by Popeil, almost caught Wakely by surprise. Wakely doing a fantastic job in goal for Winnipeg. Here's the draw. Comes all the way to Lodbo. Lodbo tries to center, but it's broken up. Bordlow now clears it for Winnipeg. Out to Whitlock at center ice. Gives it to Corsiviat. He dumps it back in and out of the ice rink. 1:25 to go in the game. And there you see a very anxious Cougar bench. That's Marcel Flanaveau marching up and down behind the bench. All the Cougars now up on their feet. They're unbeaten in their last 2 games. Whitlock now for the Cougars to Corsiviat at center ice. This is Stasinski. He tries to center for Popeil, but overshoots him into the corner. Zanussi back for Winnipeg, but it's taken by the Cougars. And Bordlow gets it outside the blue line back to center ice. That's Whitlock. He gets it out here to the stick of Winnipeg Sutherland. Sutherland to Bowden. Bowden tries to get around the defensive. Chicago can't do it. McLeod, 1 minute to go in the game. McLeod still in goal for Chicago, but he's going to leave any minute. That's Corsiviat skating around the goal for Chicago at center ice. Corsiviat with the puck. He's ridden off. Taken by Popeil. Popeil goes down, but no call. And it's all the way back into the Chicago zone. 43 seconds to go in this hockey game. That's Bowden for Winnipeg. Whitlock for Chicago. Into the corner. Comes out to Stasinski. Stasinski now. Right side to Lodbo. Lodbo. Here comes the McLeod out of there. A 6th skater for Chicago. Empty net for Chicago. Holden gets it for Winnipeg. That was Norm Bowden, not Sutherland, number 11. Norm Bowden, the empty net scorer. That just about rounds up this hockey game for Winnipeg.
Brad, I was going to say there was a perfect example of that 2-line rule in there. When Horning gave the pass, it went across the red line, WHA. Bodan caught up to the puck because the puck preceded him over the red line, and then he was able to walk in and put it in the empty net. Reggie Fleming arguing the point there for a while with Friday, an old NHLer. He forgot about the new rule, and Friday straightened him out. One of those tough breaks. Some great forechecking by the Jets there stopped that pressure of having that extra man down with a face-off in their own end.
Only 19 seconds to go. Chicago has the puck. This is Anderson for the Cougars. Only 14 seconds to go in the game. Corsivian left side, broken up by Zanussi for Winnipeg. Coming into Chicago zone. This is Zanussi. He tries to center it. Line, kick save by McLeod. 2 seconds, 1 second. There it is. And the Winnipeg Jets have their best victory of the year. They take over first place in the Western Division, at least temporarily, depending on what Alberta does tonight in their game.
32.
And now we've got an argument going on. Anderson coming out to steal on Friday. Dennis, any idea what this is about?
Well, towards the end of the finish, Anderson kind of gave a little shot to one of the Jets, and almost retaliated. Anderson looking for a bit of an argument on the play, but cooler heads prevailed, and I see the boys going around shaking hands with each other. Some of the notice Milt Black, their former Dallas Blackhawk himself, Sandy Anderson, and the Dallas Blackhawk too. So now that the game's over, bad feelings gone.
Here are your
And it's a very interesting hockey game. They played a scoreless first period, only 3 penalties in the period. The Cougars getting a lot of pressure on Ernie Wakely in that game. Here we've got the star of the game. They're going to announce several stars. One of them, Ernie Wakely. No disputing that, of course.
number 5,
Larry Horning, the captain of this, not the captain, I'm sorry, but the outstanding defenseman of Winnipeg. And Jim McLeod for Chicago takes the bow. McLeod also playing an outstanding game.
Well, one of the breweries here has a 3-star selection, and the boys get themselves a nice memento of being picked. It was Ernie Wakely was picked the outstanding star because I think he kept us in the hockey game. Horning was number 2, and Jim McLeod, who I thought came up with a great game, was a number 3 star.
I was saying they played a scoreless first period, but then with about 6 minutes to go in the second period, Winnipeg started to break the game open. Larry Black scoring, or Milt Black scoring the first goal for Winnipeg. 3 minutes later, it was Bowden for Winnipeg. And then about 2 minutes after that, Garth Rizzuto as Winnipeg took a 3-0 lead. But the Cougars got back into it early in the third period, had goals by Fleming and Popeil. But then with 20 seconds to go in the game, an empty net goal, Winnipeg wins it 4-2. And executive producer for the Chicago Cougars has been Peter Strahm. The telecast tonight produced by Dudley Freeman, directed by Art Ludwig, the studio director Al Lerner. Our technical supervisor tonight has been Charlie Abney. Assisting me tonight, Anna Stukas, the general manager of the Winnipeg Jets. Join us on Wednesday night, November 1st from Boston. That's when the Cougars take on the New England Whalers at 6:30 Chicago time. And don't forget, coming up next, we'll be talking with Bobby Hull on Cougar Wrap-Up. So for right now, that's it from Winnipeg.
The Chicago Cougars hockey games are coming to you on the new TV 44 WSNS, where you'll also see the Chicago White Sox in action in 1973.
The following Cougar Wrap-Up program is being presented by the Yale Insurance Agency, 330 South Wells in Chicago, 427-6322. Well, hi again, everyone. I guess I don't have to introduce this player on my left right now, even though he isn't wearing the familiar number 9. He's Bobby Hull. And Bobby, of course, is a spectator tonight because he still cannot play. He cannot coach until that federal judge in Philadelphia decides the case. And, of course, Bobby can also not talk about that case while the litigation is still pending. But, Bobby, I know you can talk about tonight's hockey game. And it was a very interesting hockey game, especially after that scoreless first period, the way Winnipeg went ahead and the way Chicago came back.
Well, Brad, the boys came out here in their home opener a couple of weeks or so ago and sent the joint out against Edmonton, and they came out this first period tonight doing the same thing, and they had me a little frightened for a while, but they came on and they tried to give it away again, but they're a fine group of guys, a great hockey club.
You got a fast skating team, Bobby.
Yeah, I think so. Whoever put these guys together, and it's Anna Stukas and Bill Robinson, they did a terrific job. There isn't a bad apple in the whole group, and I was quoted here last week in the newspaper by saying I wouldn't trade him for the pick of the rest of the league, and that's just exactly how I feel. They're a heck of a bunch of guys, and we're very fortunate to have them here.
Of course, Chris Bordelow's had a fine year for the Jets so far. Even without you at left wing, he had you last year. Last year, he only scored 14 goals. Already this year, he scored 9. I want to talk to you about Chris, but first, let's take a timeout.
When should you be concerned about auto insurance? As soon as you can drive a car, really. You don't have to plan on having accidents, but you should plan on having auto insurance just in case. That's why Yale Insurance Agency promises that they can insure anybody with auto insurance. And Yale Insurance Agency can find the best auto insurance plan for you, because that's their business, finding insurance to fit your circumstances no matter what your driving record or whether you're going on 16 or 80. And as one of Chicago's largest insurance agencies, Yale deals with some of Chicagoland's finest insurance companies, so they can do more for you than you can, and all for a small down payment and easy monthly term. Call Yale Insurance Agency at 427-6322 and see what they can do for you. Make an appointment to see one of their representatives at either the Loop offices or in the convenience of your own home. And call tonight, 427-6322. Do yourself a favor and call the Yale Insurance Agency.
They're the big wheels when I was a kid.
Bobby talking about when he was a kid. I'll tell you, I walked into the Winnipeg Arena this morning, and it was really strange. I know Bobby's been up here for some time now, and he's allowed to work out with the Winnipeg Jets. It was really strange seeing Bobby Hull skate around in a pair of red trunks and not the familiar black of the Blackhawks. The kids were still up here also skating around. You had 3 of your boys here today. And something different from Chicago, Bobby. You allow kids to come in here and see you practice, and you really draw them.
Well, I think that any sport is very, very important for children, and the more kids that want to come in this building, the better I'll feel about it. And any of the guys that want to bring their kids down to the dressing room, we even have meetings with the kids in their dressing room, and of course that wouldn't be allowed in other areas, but I think it's terrific for the kids. It's great for the guys being on the road so much to have their families around them as much as they can while they're home, and we're away enough that we don't get to see the kids often enough, and anytime that any kids want to come into this rink, they're more than welcome.
Well, you sure make them welcome, because I saw you signing autographs today. You signed quite a few. I know kids are asking you for sticks and everything else. I know there aren't enough sticks to go around. So I understand yesterday you must have signed autographs for an hour and a half.
Well, we had a workout over at a private school, Brad, and there were a number of the classes in the lower school allowed out to watch our practices, and of course not only myself, a lot of the other guys stayed around and signed their autographs, and of course me being the last dog to be hung, I may have signed a couple more than the other guys, but it's great for the kids, and Winnipeg not having a professional team, and a lot of these other cities out in the western provinces here and in parts of the United States not being able to see professional hockey before, I think it's great for everybody.
Bobby, you, of course, made your name during the old National Hockey League days when we only had 6 teams, about 108 players, the cream of the crop. National Hockey League has since gone to 16 teams. I know you've commented in the past it just doesn't seem the same, because you aren't going up against that top competition night after night. You've got the expansion clubs, which other have-nots. They just can't expect to go up against teams like Boston, Montreal, New York. What about your league? What do you see as the caliber of play here? I can't say your league, but what about the World Hockey Association?
Brad, I really I thought that the National Hockey League, of course, when there were the 6 teams, as you say, they had the pick of the entire country for 6 teams, and it was diluted somewhat with the expansion, and will be with the expansion. Of course, our league is in much the same state as the National Hockey League in the fact that we have 12 new franchises plus the 16 in the National Hockey League, and it is going to be somewhat watered down for a little while. But every game that I've seen our club play in here and against the other clubs, it's fine hockey. It's very fine hockey. It's fast skating, and we've got enough fellas from the National Hockey League, experienced fellas, plus a lot of kids that have been shuttled and shuffled by the National Hockey League into these other leagues that never really got a chance to come up and to prove what they're worth.
Well, hockey's entertainment. As long as you give the fans a good show, a close show, an exciting show, I guess it really doesn't matter. Because to me, there was nothing more dull than watching a lopsided game where one team was just maybe going for the tie, dumping the puck. There's nothing like watching a Chicago-New York game, a Chicago-Montreal game. But you watch a Chicago-Los Angeles King game, and there was something lacking. Now, I've seen only 2 games so far. This game tonight, which was close for the most part. I saw the Chicago Cougars beat the Los Angeles Kings. There haven't been many of these 8-7, 8-6 games that they thought there would be.
Now we have very close games, and plus the fact that we're having a number of goals scored, and I think we're making it very interesting for the people. Of course, we used to get some lopsided games in the National Hockey League, even back when there were 6 teams. So there was power back then, and 3 or 4 of the teams, and a couple were somewhat shy. But heck, there's room for us all. The National Hockey League and the WHA, and heck, we don't want to do anything but entertain the people and hope that we are allowed to do so.
We'll talk more with Bobby Hull right after this timeout.
If you're a tavern owner, you probably have a special group of customers, a special house drink, or a special insurance, like liquor liability insurance. Well, that's why you should see Yale Insurance Agency about liquor liability insurance for less than you're paying now. That's their business, finding the best insurance policy for people like you. You may be paying too much right now and not even know it. And all it takes is a phone call to Yale at 427-6322 to find out. And Yale Insurance Agency can also find you homeowners or homeowners policy at the same low price advantage no matter where you live. For a small down payment and easy monthly terms, you can avoid gambling with the expense of a fire or a robbery. Call the Yale Insurance Agency at 427-6322 for a free estimate. Take advantage of the small down payments and the easy monthly terms that have made the Yale Insurance Agency one of Chicago's largest agencies. And do yourself a favor. Call Yale Insurance Agency now at 427-6322.
Once again, our guest here on Cougar Wrap-Up, Bobby Hull, who liked the other, 4,500 here maybe tonight because of the snow?
We have had a bad day of it, Brad. We woke up this morning with, I would say 2 or 3 inches, and it snowed another 2 or 3 this afternoon, and the kids were wanting to get the skidoos out already. So it was a little tough for the folks, and I expect that had it been a good night, we'd have had upwards of 6,000 or 7,000 people.
I know if you'd been playing, we would have had a standing room only. But I was going to say, like the 4,500 fans who were here, you were a spectator, and I know that's got to be tough for you, and I don't want to ask you too much about that. But I understand you've moved into a new home, and you've got an indoor swimming pool, and doesn't swimming soften the muscles?
Well, I haven't been in it yet. As a matter of fact, none of the kids have. We've been busy moving in, and it's pretty tough to let the 2- and 3-year-olds in there without any lifeguards, so to speak. So we've kept it kind of closed. It's going to be nice for the kids. I'm sure we're going to enjoy the city of Winnipeg. It's a big little city, and within 5-10 minutes you're out into the country, which pleases me very much. And the kids are playing more hockey than they can really stand. They're being sought after by a number of the teams around. So I think they're going to enjoy it too.
Bobby, who's handling the team right now from the bench?
Nick McCoskey. The Chicago fans will remember Nick back when I first came up in 57, 58. Nick was already here. He had come in a trade from New York, and he played 2 or 3 years in Chicago, and I know pretty well all the hockey fans there that began watching back, and when I first came up will know Nick. He's a very knowledgeable guy and a good guy to work with.
How many people did they used to attract to those games when you first came up?
I think when I first started to play, they had somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000, sometimes 6,000. It depended, but it didn't take too long before they became very interested. Tommy Ivan did a very good job of recruiting, and Rudy Pillis came from our old junior A team in St. Catharines, and Stan came up, and of course Pierre was there, and Elmer Vasco, and then Johnny McKenzie and Wayne Hillman and Chico Mackey, and of course Dennis and Dougie and Freddie Stanfield and Phil Esposito, and I could go right on through and name them, and they soon began to make the old Barn Creek there, and for the last, I don't know, 10 or 12 or 14 years, it's been pretty well filled.
I started to talk earlier about Chris Borlow. He, of course, centered for you at the latter stages of last year. He's off to a great start here. 14 goals last year. Already he has 9 here, and he broke it open that first game. He had 4 goals. He said he should have 7.
Well, Chris, like a lot of the other NHL players, really understands our position here in the league, that someone has to take the old bull by the pole, so to speak, and take off with it. And Chris has been terrific, along with Bill Sutherland, and that played with he played with Philadelphia, and Ab McDonald. God, Ab's been just terrific. Danny Johnson has really taken hold. Normie Bowden, all these guys that really know what it's all about, winning and getting kids up for games. They've really taken hold, and they've just been terrific.
We'll be back with a final question for Bobby Hull right after this timeout.
When it comes to a big expenditure like a new car or a new house, you shop around. But do you have the time or the know-how to find yourself the best auto insurance? Probably not. So let Yale Insurance handle it for you. That's their business, finding automobile insurance to fit your needs. And as one of Chicago's largest insurance agencies, Yale deals with some of Chicagoland's finest insurance companies, which gives Yale the resources to find you better auto insurance than you could probably find by yourself. No matter who you are or what your driving record is, Yale Insurance Agency can get you automobile insurance you can afford and at easy terms. So if you need auto insurance, or if you think you're paying too much now, call Yale Insurance Agency at 427-6322. For auto insurance at low monthly rates and small down payments, talk to one of their representatives at either the Loop offices or in the convenience of your own home. And call tonight, 427-6322. Do yourself a favor and call the Yale Insurance Agency.
Bobby, the big surprise, I would have to say, in the World Hockey Association right now is the fact the Philadelphia Blazers are in last place with a record of 0-7. They aren't the only 0-7 team over there. The Philadelphia 76ers are 0-7 in the NBA. But here's a team with Johnny McKenzie, who I know has been out with a broken arm. He was supposed to play tonight. Also Derek Sanderson, Bernie Perron, who played up until last night when he broke a leg. What's their problem?
Brian Campbell and Andre Lacroix and a number of others. I think mainly what it's been, and me being an old hockey player would have to go on the side of the hockey player, they haven't been able to get home for, I think, 3-week period. And it makes it tough to start a season off when no one's settled and they have families back in Philadelphia that no doubt need help with the guys being on the road. And plus the fact that I really think with Johnny not being out there to really give him that boost is hurt them a little bit. Derek is the type of guy that now it may still, that the big salary may still, big contract may still be, still have him up in the clouds, so to speak, and he really hasn't got down to working yet. And I had a talk with Derek and Brian and Andre here before our 2 games, and they, according to Johnny, they got off their butts and started to work a little bit. It's just been a fact that they haven't really realized how important it is for these guys to go yet, and they really haven't taken hold.
You know, you like Ernie Banks. I thought you were going to be too nice of a guy to be a coach. You know, you have to clamp down on players. You've got the respect because you've proven yourself on the ice, and players always tend to respect the performer. But I'm told that these guys really work out, and one reason, of course, you've always been a hard worker. You've always, you're the last guy again to leave practice today, but this seems to be a very close-knit hockey team, and a team that sticks together and really works.
Well, Brad, I really haven't been able to coach yet to the point where I really like to get into it. I go out and of course, work out with the guys, and I do my workout in the practices like I think I did in the games. I feel that if players work hard in practice, then it makes it easier in the game. So I think with me being out there and working real hard, that the other guys tend to fall in line and do the same thing. But I don't think, once in a while you have to be a little tough with a group of guys, but as I said earlier, the type of guys that the Winnipeg Jets have here, they don't need much of a whipping.
We're going to be in Chicago on Monday. First of all, for the Chicago Quarterback Club, that's going to be at 12 o'clock at the Sherman House. Right now it's scheduled for the College Inn. As long as you're going to be there, they might move it up to the ballroom. I don't know about that. But you'll be there, and also Ben Haskin from who's the owner of the Winnipeg Jets. They're going to have some Chicago Cougars there. I'm also wondering, are you going to work out at the amphitheater?
Yes, we're looking for some ice. I don't really know what's going to happen, Brad, but we'll be in Chicago for the Quarterback Club, and you mentioned Benny being there. He's a hell of a guy. He's a real nice guy, terrific guy to work with, and we couldn't work for a nicer guy. He's big and jovial, and of course he likes to win too, like everybody else, but he's a great guy.
And he's the guy who signed that $1 million certified check. We don't want to lose sight of that fact. This has been Bobby Hull, of course. He'll be in Chicago on Monday. His team, his possible team, the Winnipeg Jets, beat the Chicago Cougars tonight by a score of 4-2. Don't forget, our next telecast on Channel 44 will be Wednesday night from Boston. The Cougars' next game will be in Chicago Tuesday night, the amphitheater, against Bobby Hull's Winnipeg Jets. An outside chance that Bobby Hull could be making his World Hockey debut. Let's hope so. And so from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Brad Palmer is saying good night, everybody. The Cougar Wrap-Up was presented by the Yale Insurance Agency, 330 South Wells in Chicago, 427-6322.
The Chicago Cougars hockey games are coming to you on the new TV 44, WSNS, where you'll also see the Chicago White Sox in action in 1973.
Or more. Centering pass, but nobody there. Now Barber comes back to get it for Chicago. Wash out on the icing because it's right in on goal against McLeod, and back to get it Barber for Chicago. Just starting the second period of play, and the Cougars trail Minnesota 2-0. Out to center ice, scramble for the puck. Hupper, Christensen, and Nibs fight for it over there. Christensen gets to it and gives it off to Mike McMahon. McMahon, a former National Hockey League player, made the All-Star team one year. Played 20 games with the Blackhawks back in the late 60s. Into the corner, and Butch Barber for Chicago, deep in his own end. He brings it out here. Taken away right out in front by Hampson. Hampson dekes around, but he's ridden up like a hand. Here comes Klatt, and Klatt's taken down by McLeod. Almost a costly mistake that time by the Cougars. Out to center ice, taken there by McMahon. Comes over here to Klatt, broken up by Liddington, but Klatt gets it anyway. Klatt carries over the blue line, checked hard by Barber. Barber takes it away from him, gives it off to Liddington into the corner. Liddington behind his own end. Klatt right behind him, taken away by Minnesota, but Nibs gets it back for Chicago. Boy, some dangerous play right out in front of McLeod. Chicago gets it out to center ice. This is Bobby Whitlock, tries to shovel it to Nibs, but it's broken up instead by John Arbor. And the Cougars get it right back. A little sloppy play here as both teams are having trouble getting their passes, connecting on their passes. Here's a shot in on Curran. It's taken off by McMahon. Leads it up to Hampson. Hampson dumps it over here right side to Conley. Conley into the corner, going to try to center. He does, but nobody's there. Taken off by Payma, Chicago. Payma up right wing, centers for Szynski. Szynski gets around Paul, back to Payma. Here's Payma in front of back here off the post. Off the post. To the point, a shot by Anderson deflected out in front by Ball. Tough luck for Payma. He just missed with a backhander. Here comes Minnesota. Pass over led for Conley, taken off by Anderson. Back to center ice to Szynski. He can't control, taken off by Speck. Speck of Minnesota over the blue line. Centering pass in front, and somehow Morrison just did not get to it. Couldn't get his stick on it. Controlled by Szynski in his own end for Chicago. Drops it back for Mavety. And Mavety throws it out to the point man for Minnesota. Chicago gets it back. Here's Payma, right side. Payma throws it in way wide of Curran. Comes off to Ball. Ball out to Speck at center ice. He's got two men to beat. He can't do it. Taken away by Anderson. Slap back out to center ice. Out to Bob Szynski. Szynski carries in Olo. He's ridden off the puck hard by just like Paradise. Whistle blows, they're going to face it off. So with 16:56 to go, second period, 2-0 Minnesota. Let's take a timeout.
They changed the assist here. First goal. They took it away from Platt and give it to McMahon.
Face off just to the left of Mike Curran. That's going to be McMillan in the helmet for Minnesota and Reg Fleming for Chicago. Number 10 with his back to you is Rick Morris. Draw into the corner to McMahon of Minnesota, shovels it around, comes all the way out here to Connick, but he can't get to it. Held in the, taken off instead by Connick. Connick from Minnesota comes up all by himself, way out in front. Here's Antonovich, a big pile up in the crease. McLeod into the goal along with Connick. Finally pulls himself out, scramble for the puck in the corner. This is Antonovich along with Fleming. Finally comes out and taken off by Lodbo onto the ice for the first time for Chicago. Over to Morris, a shot just wide. Comes all the way around to the point. Kept in by Cahan. Taken off by McMahon of Minnesota. Gives off to McMillan. Here comes Minnesota. Mike Antonovich carries over the blue line and now pulls up as the Cougars were laying back for him. Poked away by Lodbo. Lodbo, one man the beat. He's going to beat Sanders, but Sanders gets to it first and pokes it away. Frank Sanders from Minnesota. Gets it out to center ice and poked right back in by Cahan. It would be offsides, but Minnesota gets to it first. Out to center ice, a scramble there, taken off by McMillan of Minnesota. He's knocked down by Fleming. Taken off by Morris of the Cougars. Morris now out to center ice, drops it back to Cahan. Cahan over here to Barber. Barber, a lead pass that's overled for Lodbo, broken up by Antonovich behind his own goal. Antonovich ridden from behind by Lodbo, but he still controls. He's up left wing. He looks to center for McMillan, but he doesn't. He hangs on to it instead. Takes it into the Chicago zone and throws an easy shot in on McLeod. Comes right back to Antonovich. He falls on it. Whistle blows. They're going to face it off.
Again, Brad, we go about 4 minutes without having a whistle. People are trying to change the lines on the go, but the play's going back and forth so fast that it's really dangerous. The old rule, you know, you don't change when the puck's in your end, and it was pretty tough to keep it in either end for very long, so it was hard to make a change, and as a result, the Antonovich line seemed to be out there for 3 or 4 minutes, which is too long to be efficient if you're working hard.
That's right. The puck's been at center ice for the last, most of this period about 4.5 minutes old. Cougars trailing Minnesota, score of 2-0. Minnesota getting both goals in the opening 2.5 minutes of play. Morrison and Christensen scoring for Minnesota. Puck in the Minnesota end. That's out to Lillyholm wearing a helmet. Checked off by Nibbs. It comes back to Dick Paradise. Paradise for Minnesota. He brings it out. Out to center ice. Anderson tries to keep it in, but he can't do it. An offside called against the Chicago Cougars.
Well, this period certainly is a little different than the first one. This is very even, chances at both ends. In the first period, as you well remember, the first 5 minutes, it looked like it might turn into a rout. But I think it's going to be a hockey game before we're finished.
Face-off comes back to Larry Mavety of Chicago. 14:48 to go, second period of play. Dumped into the Minnesota zone, but back to get it for Minnesota is Dick Paradise. He's back behind his own goal. He brings it out now. Passes right out in front to Falkman. Falkman out to center ice. Carries himself over the blue line. Tries to get through Anderson and Mavety, but can't do it. Keeps it in at the point. Over to Antonovich. Antonovich wheels around. He tries a shot. Deflected up the skate of Anderson. Taken up by Liddington of Chicago. Right wing pass to Whitlock. Whitlock, though, can't control. A little bit offside to be taking the puck. Off to McMillan. McMillan a pass to Antonovich, but Antonovich over the blue line ahead of the play. Offside, and a lot of the fans here don't like it. Want to remind you that the Cougars' next home game is Tuesday against the Cleveland Crusaders. You can get tickets for that game at Sears, Ward's, Ticketron, and the Amphitheater box office. And on Friday night, Bobby Hull's Winnipeg Jets come to town as Bobby Hull makes his Chicago debut in a Winnipeg Jet uniform. And then on Saturday and Monday, December 23rd and 25th, the Alberta Oilers will be in Chicago both nights family night. That means that all children 14 years of age and under will be admitted for $2 when accompanied by a paying adult. Family night, December 23rd and 25th against Alberta. On the 22nd, Bobby Hull's Winnipeg Jets.
7 seconds left in the Chicago penalty.
Here comes Fleming, one-on-one, tries to get around Sanders, can't do it. Now tries to center. He can't do that either as he's ridden down hard by Craig Faulkman, by Bob Lillyholm, rather. Now, puck finally taken off by Popeil for Chicago. Left wing pass to Morris. Morris over the blue line, tries to thread his way between Sanders and Ryan, can't do it. Taken off by Sanders behind goal. He's ridden to the boards by Barber, poked away, taken off by Minnesota. This is Paradise. He shovels it out. It's going to be icing coming up against the Minnesota Fighting Saints as soon as Cahan touches it. And there's the whistle. Icing called against Minnesota. They'll bring it up to the left of Mike Curran.
And Speck returns the penalties over. No damage done on either one of those penalties. And Brad, it's turned into a typical Minnesota Saint Chicago Cougar game. It's a toss-up, and it's far from over.
And don't forget, you can see the Chicago White Sox here on Channel 44 this summer. 135 games, home and away on WSNS, Channel 44 in Chicago. 2:58 to go, second period of play, with Minnesota leading Chicago 3-2. A shot off the face-off, right on Curran, but right at him, he made the save. Taken off by Minnesota. Fleming tries to poke it away, can't do it. Here's Hupper Christensen. He's got Cahan the beat. He holds up, tries to center, and broken up nicely by Fleming. Fleming now tries to center for Lodbo, can't do it. Broken up by Minnesota. Thrown right back in by Frank Sanders, but taken off by Cahan of Chicago. Cahan over to Barber. Both teams at equal strength. 2:30 to go, second period. Cougars a goal down. This is Barber into the Minnesota zone. Taken off, though, instead by Minnesota's Dick Paradise. Paradise over here to Speck. Speck tries to control. Checked hard by Barber and Morris. Far side to Lodbo. He takes a check from Hampson and comes out to center ice. Taken off there by Paradise over to McMahon. McMahon throws it up to Christensen, but he can't control. Goes against the board. Scramble there. Klatt gets it for McMahon. Here's McMahon. One man to beat. Shoots it, but deflected by Cahan off his skate. Comes out to Chicago. Kept in by Christensen, now of Minnesota. Now Billy Klatt. Now Ted Hampson. Hampson for Minnesota. Centers it. Shoots it in off the side of the net. Whistle blows. They're going to face it off.
Big Larry Cahan got his foot in the way of what looked like a good scoring chance by a shot up by Mike McMahon. And Cahan's got a habit of always being in your road. I guess after as many years as he's played, he goes on the theory that you never take any more steps than you have to, and you think before you take any. And that usually leaves him in the right position.
1:44 to go, second period of play. Following this period, we'll be talking with Cougar scout Jacques Demers and Cougar defenseman Dick Perciviat, who is still nursing an injury. Also Bob Halverson, the publicity man for the Minnesota Fighting Saints. Puck comes out right in front of the crease, but taken off by Chicago. Payma up against the boards, has it poked away by Hupper Christensen. Christensen controls, a minute 22 to go, second period of play. Minnesota nursing a 3-2 lead. Into the Chicago zone, taken off by Jan Popeil, our post-game guest. Popeil thrown to the ice, no call. Out to McMahon. McMahon on defense now for Minnesota. Center ice, tries to lead Christensen, overleads him, goes all the way into the corner. Back to get it for Minnesota, Hampton, but Maverty gets it for Chicago instead. He throws it out here to Payma, but overleads him. Taken off by Minnesota. 52 seconds to go now in the period. Taken off by John Arbor. Over to Speck. Speck tries to go around Popeil. Can't do it. Poked away back to McMahon. Both teams fighting at center ice. Not much going on right now. Out to Popeil. Popeil tries to get it into the Minnesota zone, but he can't do it. Conley gets it away. And back out to center ice. 30 seconds to go. Popeil again tries to do it, but shoots it off Conley's pad. Comes all the way into the Chicago end. McLeod gets it out to Popeil. Out to center ice, and Minnesota takes it away. 17 seconds now to go. Second period of play. Anderson falls down all by himself. Gets it over to Maverty. Maverty with 11 seconds. Maverty has shot him. A stick save by Curran. Taken off by Terry Ball. Tries to clear it. Can't quite do it. No, he did, because Anderson brought it back, and it's an offside against Chicago with 2 seconds to go. So I can pretty much say that there's going to be no more scoring in this period, with Minnesota leading the Cougars a score of 3-2.
Anderson did a little stick handling on his knees there to save a goal.
Did. Comes out to center ice, the horn goes off, and so at the end of the second period of play, the Minnesota Fighting Saints 3 and the Chicago Cougars 2. And I'll be right back with more after this timeout. Those Chicago goals, power play goals. Minnesota's wasn't, was it? Did I say it was at one time? Okay. Yeah. When Halverson gets here, we'll have a couple of spots in between, but I'll let him sit here.
Yeah, sure. I might as well get out of here now so he can come up. I'll be pulling out the bloody plugs.
Thanks. Is he down there yet? No, first interview. Brad Palmer back at St. Paul Auditorium, where after the second period, the Minnesota Fighting Saints now lead the Cougars by a score of 3-2. A very eventful second period of play for both teams because Minnesota went into the second period leading Minnesota went in leading the Cougars by a score of 2-0. But the Cougars came up with a couple of power play goals within 2 minutes of each other. Reg Fleming breaking the scoring ice for the Cougars at 7:56, a power play goal, his 13th of the year. And then about a minute and a half later, a little less actually, Rick Morris deflected a shot by Larry Mavety, his 6th goal of the year. That tied this hockey game up. And then just 20-some seconds later, Billy Klatt got a go-ahead goal for Minnesota, his 12th goal of the year. John Arbour getting the assist. We're going to be talking with Jacques Demers down on the ice a few minutes from now. He is the scout for the Cougars, one of their scouts. And so far I haven't got the shots on goal in this period. We're also going to be talking with Dick Presiviat, the injured defenseman of the Cougars, who has been out some 6 weeks with a broken clavicle. That's a bone up here in his left shoulder. And also Bob Halverson, the publicity man of the Minnesota Fighting Saints, who's going to tell us about this new arena that they're going to be opening up very shortly. Adjacent to this building, it's the St. Paul Civic Auditorium, and it's going to seat 16,000 people for hockey. I'm not sure if we have our man Jacques Demers getting set up down on the ice now. He's a scout for the Cougars. So Reg Fleming, his 13th goal of the year. Rick Morris, his 6th goal of the year for the Cougars to tie the hockey game up. Then Billy Klatt throwing the Minnesota Fighting Saints on top with his 12th goal of the year at 9:35. We had 5 penalties in that period, 3 on Minnesota, 2 on Chicago. Popeil going twice, once for hooking, once for charging. Speck, Kern, and Ball going for Minnesota. A pretty... Both teams, of course, at equal strength as that power play brought Livingston out of the penalty box. A power play goal by Huffer Christensen. Here's a shot. Pema goes over the net, off the glass on the far side, out to the point to Anderson. Anderson over to Popeil. Popeil tries to get it through Terry Ball, and McMillan can't do it. Taken off by Antonovich. Antonovich up left wing, carries over the blue line, tries to get around Mavety. Can't quite do it. He's ridden off the puck and back to get it to Zinski for Chicago. Into the corner they go. Taken off there by Pema. Pema tries to clear it. Oh, a dangerous play right out in front of McLeod. Popeil throws it over here to Pema on the right side. Pema shoots it in. Curran comes out to give it to Terry Ball. Ball behind his own goal. Ball tries to deke around Popeil. Finally gets it out to center ice, but overleads Karnik. Taken off by Anderson of Chicago. 10:09 to go in the third period, and Chicago trailing Minnesota 4-2. Oh, a hard check by Pema. Took Terry Ball right off his feet. Or Dick Paradise, rather. Paradise now with the puck. He throws it into the Chicago zone. Back to get it McLeod. Leaves it for Anderson. Here comes Anderson. The Cougars have got to do some scoring. They're down by 2 goals. 9:48 to go in the third period. Coming across the blue line, Popeil drops it up for Pema, but Pema can't get there in time. Taken off by Karnik. Karnik goes down. Tripping coming up against Minnesota. Here's Speck for Minnesota. Whistle blows, though. It's going to be chipping against Larry Cahan.
Cahan had good.
So with that penalty, let's take a timeout. Ask Stegner if he plans. And here's the replay of that penalty on Larry Cahan coming up, Harry. There he goes. Connick being tripped by Larry Cahan. Cahan goes for 2 minutes for tripping at 10:25, so the Cougars once again have to play a man short, and they can ill afford it because they trail in this hockey game 4-2. Face off right in front of the Cougar bench.
And George Connick came down on Larry Cahan and tried to go to his inside and actually had Larry beaten. But Larry left his stick back out there in desperation, and it cost him 2 minutes.
Minnesota controls in its own zone, now going to try to set it up. Minnesota has a power play goal already in this period. Huffer Christensen getting his second goal of the night. Fleming throws a check at McMahon. Crowd doesn't like it. Here's Morrison for Minnesota. Centers for Terry Ball. Ball is shot, deflected out in front. Speck now pokes it back to Ball. Ball into the corner to Morrison. Morrison looks to center, and it's poked out to center ice by Reg Fleming. Back to get it, Mike McMahon for Minnesota. 1:20 to go on the penalty to Larry Cahan. Here's Speck's shot, deflected partially by Barber into the corner. Rick Morris back to get it for Chicago. He goes down with Fred Speck. It looked like Morris took Speck down from behind on that one.
Looks like Barber wrestling steers out there.
That's right.
It got the job done, however way he did it.
Here's Speck, broken up by Barber. Comes out to Morris. He's going to try to clear it, and he does. No trouble. Gets it by ball out to center ice. Speck gets it back to McMahon. They're going to try to set it up again. 47 seconds now on the penalty to Cahan. Here comes Minnesota. Goes into the corner. It's a foot race between Mavety and Speck. Mavety gets it there first, but it comes to Conley. And Curran knocks Conley off his feet, but no call. The crowd doesn't like it. Coming all the way out here to the blue line is Curran for Minnesota, and now he barks at Ray Thomas because Jim McLeod knocked Conley off his feet with a stick save.
And then Reggie Fleming doesn't think that Curran should be allowed to come 50 feet out of his net and fall on the puck. I don't know whether Thomas was not watching McLeod, but McLeod flung his stick behind the net there and tripped Conley, and George Morrison was standing right in front of the net, so McLeod was effective in possibly stopping a goal and got away with what might have been a penalty. However, referees are usually pretty lenient when you've already got one guy in the box. Anything short of murder, they let you go.
Here goes Minnesota again, and again McLeod comes out a goal. Hampson back there. It comes all the way around and goes right through Frank Sanders. Icing call coming up here against the Chicago Cougars. You cannot ice the puck in the World Hockey Association, even if you're a man short. And the Cougars are a man short. They will be so for the next 13 seconds. Larry Cahan sitting in the penalty box. There is Larry Cahan, the Cougar captain. He'll be 39 years old on Christmas Day.
Well, he's a good one, and he's been around the block before in this pro hockey. And he's not quite as quick as he used to be, but he has a lot of savvy and plays a real good, strong game for Chicago out there.
Broke into the National Hockey League in 1954 with Toronto. Also played with the Rangers, the Seals, and the Los Angeles Kings. Was the captain of the Kings in 1970. That's Larry Cahan. 5 seconds to go on the penalty to Cahan. We've got a tripping call coming up against Minnesota. Huffer Christensen is going for tripping. So with Huffer going to the penalty box and a manpower advantage coming up for Chicago, let's take a timeout. Huffer Christensen goes 2 minutes for tripping. Cahan still in the penalty box with 5 seconds to go on his penalty. So in just a minute or two, a few seconds, the Cougars will have a manpower advantage. Here comes Cahan. The Cougars now have a manpower advantage for the next minute and 50 seconds. Larry Mavety behind his own goal. Now to set up the power play for Chicago. The Cougars trailing in this hockey game 4-2, but a chance here. Here's Nibbs over to Whitlock. Whitlock over the blue line. A shot goes wide. They saved by Kern, but it was wide anyway. Hampson and Fleming up in the corner along with Nibbs. Now to Frank Sanders. Sanders up to the blue line, held in by Mavety. Mavety over to the point to Liddington. Liddington tries to get it to Nibbs, but he overshoots him. Bounces off the boards back to Kern, and the whistle blows.
Brad, I think we're getting weak officiating tonight, and I'm not saying that because the Minnesota team got the last penalty. Chicago's got some debatable ones, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say that there are two hockey teams trying to put on a good show on one referee trying to spoil it.
Well, I hope Gary Davidson isn't watching.
I hope he hears it. Too bad that both teams have to put up with it.
Can they find an assistant general manager?
Yeah, they can, and they probably will. You have to say what you think occasionally, don't you agree?
I sure do. This is Reg Fleming holding it in for Chicago. 1 minute, 7 seconds to go on the penalty to Huffer Christensen. Nibbs has it for Chicago, gives over to Mavety. Left side to Liddington, centering pass out to, here's Whitlock with the puck now. Whitlock's going to bring it up, he shoots it in. Back to get it, Curran out of goal for Minnesota. He flips it out to Teddy Hampson. Hampson takes a check from Fleming up to the point to Nibbs. Nibbs back to Fleming. Fleming tries to center to Liddington. He does, but he's checked from behind by Hampson. Here's a shot, a centering pass for Whitlock, but Whitlock can't get a good shot off. He takes a good check instead by Johnny Ivor. Minnesota clears it. It's going to be an icing call coming up here against Minnesota. But Minnesota has pretty effectively washed this Cougar power play. No, they wash out the icing.
Didn't quite make it. It stopped about 6 feet short of the icing line.
4 seconds to go on the penalty now to Christensen. He gets ready to come out. Now he's onto the ice. Equal strength now for both teams. Oh, a hard check that time. Ivor throwing Mavety into the boards. Out front to Minnesota. Huffer Christensen. Roar goes up. Christensen a lead pass to Hampton, but he can't get to it. Mavety takes him down, but no call.
No call is right. I'll tell you, Brad, it's a good thing that these two teams here are keeping their tempers, or we could have a full-scale brawl with the kind of frustrations that I'm sure Pronovo and Sonmore and the players are having out here, wondering whether every time the whistle goes there's going to be a penalty. Sometimes, if the players had been a little chippy out here, we'd have had 2 or 3 scenes, I'm sure. So I think great credit has to go to them for holding their cool in some tough situations.
I want to remind you that you'll be seeing the White Sox on Channel 44 next season, and the next Cougar game on Channel 44 will be Wednesday from Philadelphia. Tuesday night, the Cougars will be home against the Cleveland Crusaders. And then on Friday night, December 22nd, Bobby Hull's Winnipeg Jets will be at the amphitheater. Bobby Hull making his first Chicago appearance in a Jet uniform. 4-2, Minnesota leads the Chicago Cougars with 4:57 to go in the third period of play. Both teams now at equal strength. Here come the Cougars. This is Bob Szynski. Throws it into the Minnesota zone. Back to get it, though, is Terry Ball for Minnesota. Gets it away from Cahan. Out to... kept in nicely by Szynski. Now Payma. Here's Szynski out to Barber at the point. Barber back to Szynski. Tries to set it up. Centering pass right up the slot, but Popeil couldn't get to it. He was screened off by Speck. And Minnesota gets it back out to center ice. Barber for Chicago. Minnesota can afford to play it cozy. They've got a 2-goal lead with 4:20 to go. Cahan now back out to center ice to Szynski. A pass to Payma overleads him, taken off by Minnesota. Here's Fred Speck over the blue line and an offside. Wayne Conley in ahead of the play.
Well, time's running out on Chicago. They better do something in a hurry if they expect to get any kind of a shot at winning this
And
one.
let's take a timeout right now. Face-off just outside the Cougar blue line. Reg Fleming winning the draw. Reg Fleming has the puck, but it's checked away from him by Johnny Arbor. Fight for the puck in the Chicago zone and comes off to McMillan. McMillan tries to center, but he can't do it. He overleads Antonovich. Out to center right. Here comes Danny Lodbo. Lodbo over the blue line. He passes for Fleming, but it's broken up by McMillan. He's slowed down. Cougars trailing 4-2 with 3:44 to go. I want to remind you that the same situation existed in Philadelphia last month when the Cougars trailed 3-1 with 3 minutes to go, came back to win that game 4-3. Maybe history can repeat, but it's going to take some doing. Because the Cougars have had trouble getting something going against Minnesota, as Minnesota's been content to get the puck back out to center ice. Here's Fleming over to Rick Morris. Morris on right wing, carries into the corner, has to beat Arbor. And he drops it back, but it's broken up nicely by McMillan, and he throws it out of the zone, and it's going to be an icing call coming up here against Minnesota.
3:05 to go, Brad, and I think you can expect Chicago to be gambling. I can't imagine Marcel Pronovost sitting on a loss without trying to take some chances, so I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Whitlock out there for the rest of the game, and he'll get these boys who can score some goals and perhaps sacrifice a little bit defensively in order to try to get back in the ball game.
And Marcel looks up at the clock. Only 3 minutes, 5 seconds remaining, and he sees that 4-2 lead for Minnesota. Cougars have won their last 3 appearances on television. They've all been good one-goal games. Right now they trail by 2 goals. We only have 3 minutes and 1 second to go in the third period of play. Cougars have got to get something going right now. They still have 2 defensemen on the ice, but he may pull one of those defensemen in favor of a 4th forward. He may even go with 5 forwards. Up against the boards, taken off by Bobby Whitlock for Chicago. Whitlock brings up over to the blue line, gives up to Liddington. He says for Nibs, but broken up nicely right out in front by Teddy Hampson of Minnesota. He leaves it off for Dick Paradise. Throws it out here to Hampson. Left side, out to center ice to Hupper Christensen. Christensen dumps it into the zone. Minnesota content to dump it and run that clock down. Back to Chicago. Here's Liddington up ice with 2:19 to go in the third period. A left wing pass to Whitlock, broken up by Frank Sanders of Minnesota. Sanders goes into the boards along with Whitlock, gets it off to Teddy Hampson. Hampson brings it out, but broken up by Nibs. Nibs to Sanders. Shot Liddington just wide, just missed the post. Comes all the way out to Minnesota. Hopper Christensen. He's got 2 men in the beat. He'll dump the puck. No, he holds up and tries to drop a pass off for Clapp, but it was broken up by Liddington out to center ice. Broken up now by Hampson of Minnesota. 1:51 to go now in the third period of play. Cougars trail 4-2. Out to center ice. Paradise dumps it back into the Chicago zone. And Barber goes all the way back to get it from McLeod. Butch Barber up ice for Chicago. 1:39 to go in the third period. Speck takes it away from him. But Speck, a shot deflected off the stick of Cahan and up into the balcony.
Brad, I think you can see Minnesota now will forecheck 1 man, and they'll pick up both wingers, and they'll try to make sure they've always got 4 men between themselves and between Chicago and the goal. And they're not too concerned about scoring another goal. They'll just try and make sure they don't get any real good chances against them.
Face-off shot. Conley, a save. McLeod. Comes out to Reg Fleming of Chicago. Fleming up ice. Fleming a shot, a save. Curran, a hard shot. Looks like it bounced in on Curran. Fleming has his 13th goal for the Cougars tonight. 1 of 2 goals scored by the Cougars. Rick Morris got the other, his 6th of the year. Icing coming up here. No, McLeod gets out to wipe out the icing call. Comes out to center ice. Taken there by Wayne Conley. 1 minute 3 seconds to go in the third period. And the Cougars down by 2 goals. Cougars going with 4 forwards and 1 defenseman. Here's Reg Fleming. Throws it over here to Szynski, but overlays him. Taken off by McMahon, and McMahon just dumps it, plays it cozy. All the way down, up ice, to Chicago zone. Icing call, nope, washed out again. Popeil didn't know the puck was behind him. Popeil, our post-game guest on Cougar Wrap-Up. Here comes Larry Mavety. Mavety right side to Payma, back over to Szynski. Cougars come up with less than a minute to go. Whistle blows, offside against Chicago. 27 seconds to go, and it looks like the Cougars' 3-game winning streak on television is about over.
The Saints were fortunate on that play. It was only offside by a fraction, and Larry Mavety was going to the net. George Morrison let him go, And I can't imagine him seeing the offside, and the puck came to him, and if Mavity had been onside, it would have been a real good chance for Chicago.
27 seconds to go in the third period. Minnesota 4, Chicago Cougars 2. Face off just outside the Minnesota blue line. Bob Szynski going against Bob McMillan. Draw comes back to Reg Fleming over to Mavity. Mavity now tries to shoot, but checked hard from behind by Mike Antonovich. Here's a pass broken up of Mavity. Mavity, another shot, deflected in front by Szynski, and he almost deflected it in, but Curran made the save. Out to Charnock. 8 seconds to go. The crowd starts to chant. And Minnesota clears. It's going to be icing coming up, but the clock's going to just about run out. And it does. This hockey game was all over with the Chicago Cougars losing to the Minnesota Fighting Saints a score of 4-2.
Thomas has to get the last lick. He called a penalty on Paymont at 20 minutes.
What do you call a penalty on?
Paymont. Wasn't enough to let the players finish the game. He had to have one more call.
That penalty comes at 20 minutes. I'll be back with a wrap-up from St. Paul Auditorium right after this timeout. And so the Chicago Cougars' three-game winning streak on Channel 44 came to an end tonight. The Cougars losing to the Minnesota Fighting Saints a score of 4-2, and that evens up the series between these two teams at 3 games apiece. It puts the Minnesota Fighting Saints now 8 points behind the first-place Winnipeg Jets, the Fighting Saints in second place. Keep in mind that the Minnesota Fighting Saints now have 5 games in hand, make that 6 games in hand on the Winnipeg Jets. So the Minnesota Fighting Saints very much in the battle for first place in the World Hockey Association. The Minnesota Fighting Saints jumped out to an early 2-0 lead with scoring twice in the first 2.5 minutes of play. Upper Christensen getting his 9th goal of the year at 1:45, and then just 37 seconds later, George Morrison got his 8th goal of the year. The Cougars came back, though, early in the second period, a couple of power play goals. The first by Reg Fleming, his 13th goal of the year. He leads the Cougars in that category. He scored at 7:56. And then at 9:07, it was Drick Morris, another power play goal, his 6th of the year. But just 28 seconds later, 9:35 to go at 9:35 of the second period, Billy Klatt got his 12th goal of the year for Minnesota. It put the Fighting Saints ahead to stay. They led 3-2, and then capping the scoring in the third period.